everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Magical Jill, and today we are going to be talking about Sailor Moon. Yay! Yesterday was her birthday, which is really exciting.
Wait, that wasn't my birthday?
No, it wasn't your birthday.
Oh, I got a little confused there. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Yeah, your birthday is like 6 months away.
Okay, got it. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most iconic fictional characters of all time. You know, someone, especially in anime and manga, a character who's affected a lot of lives. We made a video before about why Sailor Moon is so special to people.
Yeah, and you can click on that. Can you click on it right here?
They removed that. They removed that ability, but we can show you.
Well, here's what the thumbnail looks like.
We can show you a little picture of it. We can put it in the description.
Yeah.
But I think that that's why we wanted to talk about this today, because in general, this is a very special character to us. And, you know, it's a very special character to a lot of people. I would argue a lot of people from all over the world. Mm-hmm. You know, I was so shocked when we went and saw Sailor Moon at the Super Live, which was the live show.
Which was incredible.
And in
a whole video about that, too.
Yeah, we did a whole video about that, too. Maybe more. And in Minnesota is where we saw it, which, like, I'm not saying Minnesota is nowhere, but it's just kind of this Midwestern landlocked state in the middle of the United States, kind of towards Canada. We're not exactly California, and we're certainly not Japan.
It's really exciting that, like, something that just started out as a little Japanese manga ended up becoming such a worldwide phenomenon to the point where we could go see it in
And it was
Minnesota,
sold out in Minnesota.
Know? Yeah, I mean, other than, like, the nosebleed seats, yeah.
Yeah, there was very few open seats
at
the showing we went to, which I think kind of goes to show just how popular it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and it was really exciting to be able to see just how many fans there were local to me, because I didn't realize there was so many fans who were local, and it just is so exciting that Sailor Moon brought so many people all over the world together. I mean, there's people who never would have become friends if it hadn't been for Sailor Moon. There's books that have been written that never would have been written if it hadn't been for Sailor Moon.
And we'll talk about that for a few minutes today, but first we do have a question of the day for you, which we love to hear your comments down below answering in the comment section.
Question of the day.
Question of the day.
How did Sailor Moon impact your life? Did she give you friends that you were able to meet, like, online or in real life?
She materialized them for you?
Yeah, exactly. Or did she help you become a better person? One of the things with Sailor Moon for me that I talked about in a previous video is I felt like I watched a lot of the show in a very formidable time in my life where I was very depressed, and I feel like she helped me become a better, kinder person towards people instead of just thinking the whole world was doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, you know, Sailor Moon is one of those things that reminded me that it doesn't really matter what I like, obviously within reason, but in terms of there's a lot of stigma around shows like Sailor Moon, especially the magical girl genre, and the idea of, like, oh, you know, this is for girls. Mm-hmm. And something Sailor Moon kind of reminded me of and showed me is basically the same thing Wonder Woman does, where it's like, you don't need, well, first off, you don't need to be a man to be a hero. No. Anyone can be a hero. You could be a hero in your everyday life. And I think even just seeing Usagi herself, you know, people talk about Sailor Moon and the Guardians, the soldiers, and their powers, but seeing Usagi herself, who at the end of the day is a person who unites and brings together other people around her, I think is a very powerful message where even when she's not being a superhero, she's still having a positive impact on people. And I think that, you know, you kind of see that too. They especially express that in things like the Sailor Moon R movie with the flashbacks and things like that.
Yeah, that's such a great movie to show that.
I really like that.
You know, going off of what you said, I think it's really amazing to think, and of course she's fictional, but it still is so empowering to young girls too, and young boys, because you look at this little scrawny girl who is 14 years old, you know, she barely can even do her math homework, and she's a superhero. She becomes a superhero. She saves people. She learns to love. She learns about friendship. She cares about others.
You kind of watch her grow up, too. You watch her become an adult.
And it's so powerful to see that, because I think a lot of young people can see that and realize, you know, it doesn't matter that I am a little teenager. I can make the world different. I can make people happy and create positive change in my own life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I got out of Sailor Moon specifically.
And I think a lot of people get it out of Sailor Moon. You know, when we went to the Super Live, and I'm sure you could say this about a lot of things, but there are fandoms where a lot of the people look very similar. You know, there are fandoms, like, I would argue maybe certain sports, things like that, where, like, you kind of look in a crowd and a lot of people kind of give you the same vibe.
Yeah, like when you look at football fans and a lot of them are old white men.
Well, but there's a lot of other people who love football too.
Yeah, I know. I just make a joke.
I'm saying, like, you get a lot of, like, the same vibe and the same kind of look from a lot of fans of certain fandoms, but, like, with Sailor Moon, I was so shocked at just how different everyone was who went to that show.
Yeah, you would think that it would all be younger women or younger girls. It was not. It was people from all different walks of life. There was men, old and young. There was children. There was adults. There was women. There was, you know, people who were dressed up in cosplay. There was people from different races. Like, it was insane. It was crazy. It was so exciting to see. And it also kind of showed me, like, Sailor Moon really is for everyone. It's not just for girls. It's not just for white people or just for Asian people. It's for everybody.
Yeah, it's not just for the gays either.
Yeah, that's true.
As some people say. I think it really is. It's this character, too, that, you know, when you look at it, and I know I've made some jokes about it and poked at this point, which I do think is a valid criticism of its merchandise. You know, how it's always merchandising. But I think something that you can point to actually here that's very interesting is this is something that goes all the way back essentially to the 90s, with the anime at least. And, you know, obviously with the manga and Sailor V and things like that. Think about how long-lasting that thing has to be and how special that fictional property has to be, especially when it hasn't actually gotten that many stories. It's gotten 2 different animes and a handful of movies. That's not nothing.
And some short stories in the manga here and there.
Yeah, but, like, that's not nothing at all. You know, books, obviously, and a game here or there. But, like, if you look at there are other series that are multitudes longer than this.
It's still going on to this day, like Dragon Ball.
And I think that when you look at Sailor Moon and you see, wow, the fact that merch still sells out for this. Wow, the fact that people are still selling out tickets to go to live shows. The fact that people are still buying the Blu-rays and streaming the movies and all these things.
Making fan art, everything. People were so upset about how on Sailor Moon's birthday, Netflix decided to get rid of Sailor Moon Crystal, the TV show.
We made a video about that, too.
We did make a video about that.
Well, it sounds like we make a video about everything.
We do! We're very big Sailor Moon fans.
The one-stop shop. But yeah, you know, and even now, looking in my office, there's things that are like a staple of my everyday life that I don't always, you know, even think about, like the old, I don't know if Jill will be able to find a picture of this, but the old Mix comics where they were, like, basically localized in terms of their shape and size comic books that were made to sell Sailor Moon to American audiences. They turned the manga into a American-sized comic book, and they sold these issues weekly or monthly or whatever.
And we have some of them framed on our wall.
Yeah, we even have just some of those up. You know, it's like, it's something that kind of every day I kind of walk past and I see, or even the fact that there's all of these pin artists who make enamel pins that are themed after or inspired by Sailor Moon. I think Sailor Moon has inspired so much art, and even a book series you've been reading recently. I'm not sure if you confirmed it was inspired by Sailor Moon.
Oh, no, I confirmed it. I confirmed it. Even in the acknowledgments. So this book series is called The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Myers. And really great series. And even in the acknowledgments, she says at the end that she was very inspired by Sailor Moon's story, and that one of the things that brought her together with her friends is Tuxedo Mask. The love that she had for him and her friends had for Tuxedo Mask brought them together and made them become friends.
They all wanted the mask.
Yeah, and she says that in the acknowledgments, and I thought that was really amazing. And I just randomly found this book series, like, at a bookstore. I had no clue it had anything to do with a girl liking Sailor Moon and writing it.
Yeah, you just said, oh, this looks kind of cool. It's a spin on fairy tales, you know, and there's some moon stuff. This looks fun.
Yeah, and it was really amazing, and I'm really happy to see things like that and other works from other authors that have been so inspired by anime and Sailor Moon specifically.
Some of them might not even know they've been. You know, Sailor Moon, I'm not going to say it spawned the magical girl genre entirely, but it certainly did help it. It certainly propelled it, you know, into stardom, where you have other magical girls and you have things like Tokyo Mew Mew.
It did propel it into its own genre.
Yeah, and you even have things as well in other countries like the Winx Club, you know, that are very inspired by Sailor Moon. Like, how many things are inspired by Sailor Moon and this, you know, little superhero.
And because it was one of the first animes to do like a transformation sequence, that has been taken by so many other TV shows and cartoons. Literally, even Static Shock in the DC animated universe has his own little transition scene where he turns from normal guy into Static Shock the superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And that is most definitely inspired by Sailor Moon, whether they realized it or not.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, you had all the way back, you know, even in the classic Superman movies, you did have some stuff like that even before Sailor Moon, of him, like, you know, swapping into his outfit and stuff like that. But I think that, like, an anime like Sailor Moon helped further popularize the idea. And, you know, that's the thing, is, like, we're not saying Sailor Moon invented everything. It didn't invent merchandising. It didn't invent transformation sequences. But what it did do
was popularize a lot of them.
It helped popularize a lot of things and push them further into the spotlight where other authors would see them and say, that's awesome. I don't want to copy that.
But I want to do something similar.
I want to do something kind of like that, but my own.
I definitely think especially Winx Club is very inspired by Sailor Moon with the way their transformation sequences is. It's so inspiring to see something like that has inspired so many other things. Watching Sailor Moon and reading Sailor Moon makes me want to create things too. So I think it's really nice that this has connected so many people across the world, and June 30th happens to just be, you know, Sailor Moon Day, where we can talk about our experiences with it and kind of come together and, you know, be a Sailor Moon family.
Well, and obviously this is a little bit late because we had to make the video and we had some stuff going on in our personal lives, but it is something that I think is really fun too, is to also think out there's some fan who shares, you know, Sailor Moon's birthday, and, you know, also Sailor Moon's own daughter shares her birthday, Chibiusa.
That's true.
You know, and I think that I never expected to like Sailor Moon as much as I do. You know, I never expected to like it and be like, whoa, those girls are cool, or wow, you know, I really like Mako. She's awesome.
You probably wouldn't have watched it on your own if it hadn't been for me making you.
Well, no, because I think also, unfortunately, there's always these, you know, we talked about it before, there's always these ideas of what's for who. You know, I always heard, and I even heard this phrase, like, Sailor Moon is for the girls and the gays.
I've heard that too.
I had heard that phrase before, and I was like, oh, so, like, I guess this wasn't made for people like me? Like, I'm not really supposed to care about this?
It is, and it has so many really good life lessons in it.
Yeah, for anybody.
Yeah, and I just really love everything about it, and it makes me so happy to be able to share it with people, especially on this channel. So I hope you guys really liked this video.
And if you're watching and you're a Sailor Moon rights holder, we want more stories, please. More live shows, please. As long as they're good. And more video games, please.
Yes,
We're begging over here.
I would like that.
We're starved. We're thirsty. We can only buy so many statues. There's only so much room.
I have a bunch of other Sailor Moon videos that I have made on this channel. I hope you guys go check them out. I hope you have a happy belated Sailor Moon birthday day.
But wait a minute. It's very much in the spirit of Usagi to forget someone's birthday.
True.
And then remember a couple days later.
But then she gets mad if people forget her birthday.
Yeah.
Specifically.
I'm just saying, it's very much, this video was very much done in the spirit of Usagi, always late, Tsukino.
True. I like always late Tsukino. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and also, my husband has a few things to say about my shop called Cosmo Bunny Shop.
Oh, I thought I was running for governor or something. I didn't know.
No.
You were going to put me on a platform here. So we have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop, which is a fantastic little store, which my wife Jill runs, where we make coasters, keychains, trays, and more out of recycled paper. And you might say, well, why would I want recycled paper? Because these are very cool things. These are from comics, manga, magazines, and more, where the paper is damaged. These books are unable to be sold. We never print pictures. We have never printed a single picture to use for this. We very much value the, actual copyright law and the idea of transformative fair use.
And we also value saving books from going in a landfill.
And so our goal is to take these books that either can't be sold or have to be sold dirt cheap because of all this damage, and we turn them, or parts of them, into something new, transformatively for your home, and then we actually recycle the rest of that paper and make sure it doesn't just get tossed in the trash. Unfortunately, a huge problem in Minnesota, damaged books end up in dumpsters 99% of the time, so it's a shame.
So we make coasters, keychains, other things like that, small trays, big trays, definitely go check them out. They are all one of a kind.
You've started making jewelry as well. Again, do you want to talk about that for just a second?
Oh yeah, so I've also started making some more little resin earrings, and I also still make beaded earrings too, so I'm really excited about that. And
You don't sound excited about that. They're very fun. They're very cool.
I am excited about it, but you should use code SAILOR for 10% off, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Bye!